getting out of the right? So cool, we are recording now. So guys, good to see everyone. So I talked about this last Thursday, right? Last Thursday was like my motivation manifesto of like what's going to happen in the next 12 months. So I'll show this to everyone. I have don't release this on social media. I have I have PTSD from Gary Keller yelling at me about the market shifting since the beginning of 2015. He was like, it's been 6 years, the market's it's already here. He would like yell, and I'm like, oh my God, okay. I swear to God, I'll make more phone calls. I'm like, I swear to God, I'll do more. And the market never really shifted, right? You guys, right? No one ever known, right? So in the history of real estate, every 10 years has been a market shift, right? Coldwell Banker started in like 1910, and every 10 years has kind of been a shift, right? What we're going into is, and I don't talk about this stuff until we're kind of there, but like right now it's really about affordability, right? And so we have to get back to the basics, and we have to do the things that we know that work really well. And we have to do them at a very, very high level. None of this is doom and gloom. There's a lot of opportunity here. I sold real estate. I got my real estate license in 2007. If you guys remember what happened in 2008, 9, and 10, I shouldn't be here today, right? I should have been wiped out, right? I should be dead, and I should be selling insurance, right? But I'm not. I'm still in real estate. Things went really well, and we succeeded. So what we're going to kind of talk about today is, and I'm going to say like in the next, there's going to be a shift in the next 12 months, right? People are either going to thrive, they're going to just survive, or they're going to get out of the business. You know, I see Jill on this call, like, you know, people like Sam that have been here for a minute, like those people will be okay. Like they have a database, they have people, they know what to do, right? So, but there's a lot of there's a term, like they're calling them the COVID agents. I think that's super funny, right? Like the ones that came in and made $1 million in a year or two, and then they don't know how to do anything in real estate. Like they're not going to hang, right? So what we have to do is we have to focus on our fundamentals. And what we're going to talk about today is, you know, we've talked about how to show a house and showing property 101, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to really dive into some nuances and the things that we do. We're going to continue to do the same things over and over, but they're going to change because the conversations are going to change a little bit because of what's happening in the market, right? I talked about a great paradigm shift right now is if you guys are meeting any new buyers this week or in the foreseeable future, I would say, oh my God, hey, Jill, I'm so glad that we're working together today and not 9 months ago, right? And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? And basically, was anyone selling houses 9 months ago? Yeah, you were, right? Okay, Jill, what was happening 9 months ago when you tried to show a house, when a house came on a market?
There was only, I don't know, 20 offers on the one house and like 50 plus showings on that one house.
Yeah. When a house came on the market and your client was like, can we go see this today? Were you excited or were you like kind of bummed or both?
Stressed, very stressed.
Totally, right? Like, and that stress is, I always make a joke, man. Like, I will pay money. I love convenience, you guys. Like, I will pay for convenience, right? Like, I do not want to be stressed. I'll pay extra money to park up front. You know, whatever. So that's a great paradigm shift. I learned that at the Zillow Flex Mastermind, right? They're like, hey, you know what? And if you can explain to the buyers what's going on, I feel like all these interest rate hikes. So these interest rate hikes that have happened every 60, 90 days, right? I'm finally kind of annoyed by them, right? Like I feel like what's happening now is these interest rates are being high. These interest rate hikes are happening. And it's almost like the storm that just happened in Florida, right? Or like Sandy, like there's like an evaluation period afterwards, like a destruction, like what just happened, right? So like we're calling them like pipeline killers, right? Because what happens is once these interest rate hikes happen, then all of a sudden you have to reset. You have to assess the damage. Like, okay, what can I afford now? Am I still qualified? Should I make this move right now? And that's what's happening with these buyers. Does that make sense, you guys? Right? I think that's the best analogy that I've heard. Like, you know, I know we all know people down in Florida that are like, I don't know, my aunt and uncle are just water, like just went right through their house. And so now they got to go back from Jersey and reassess the damage and be like, all right, cool, man. What are we doing now? That's kind of the same thing that's happening during these interest rate hikes, right? And so what happens now, but what I also know is that if you talk to a buyer in the last 2 weeks, I hear the same thing over and over from all the agents, right? If someone talked to a buyer in the last 2 weeks, what are they saying right now? Like what's someone can like unmute themselves and be like what are they thinking?
We might just wait. The interest rates are too high.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait. Coupled with the time of year, right? Coupled with, I don't know, anything else that's going on. But here's what happens, and this is what we've seen. So the interest rate hikes started in the spring, right? And what happens is they think about it for a week or two. It becomes the new normal, right, guys? It becomes the new normal. It's like, oh, dude, I'm in California. Gas prices went from like 8 to 5 to 7. I'm like, oh my God. But like once you have the shock, it's like, okay, cool. Well, I still need a house. And there's one thing that I know, right? And this isn't like, I don't want to be the real, like, we can say whether it's a good time to buy or it's not a good time to buy is not really up to you guys, by the way, right? Like realtors like, it's a great time to buy, like that joke. Like it's not up to you, man. It has to do with what the people are going through in their lives, right? And the one thing that I know is rents are just going to keep going up. Like they're out of control. They're going to continue to stay out of control, especially if affordability gets a little crazier. So that's kind of what's going on. People are going to be buying houses. And what this all really means is the people that you get in front of, I always talk about the Four Seasons or sitting in the front of the airplane or Trader Joe's customer service. Your customer service has to be on point. It's got to be a 10 out of 10, right? Or else people are not going to work with you. That's it. That's the bottom line. So the good news is at Oz Group, right? We have a plan for everything, right? And I always make the joke of like me showing houses 2016. I'm like reading my text message. I'm like scrolling through whatever Friendster or whatever old people were on in those days, right? Like I was like, oh, cool. And then like I was just like I was not a good I was not good, man. Like plus I think I got a little cocky and was selling so many houses, whatever. But what happens is there's three parts of this thing. We're gonna dive into it. I'm gonna respect your guys' time. I'm gonna try to keep it within like 30 minutes here. But showing property, right? We're just gonna quickly cruise through showing property 101 and what this looks like, right? We have an intro, right? We have a game plan, right? One of the reasons why I'm good at things that I do is the people that I work with, I explain to them that I have a plan. When you guys are talking to people, tell them that you have a plan. Jill, if you came to me for something and I told you I have a plan, I could show you how you do it. Would that make you feel good? Right? You'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. I do this in recruiting constantly. Who did you sit with? Oh, I sat with Weichert and Berkshire Hathaway. Cool. What's their plan to get you in production on day one? Oh, well, they have like a training on Thursday. Like they said I could shadow Mary. That's not a plan, guys, right? Like that's we talked about it during COVID too, when there was low inventory. We talked about like telling them how we're going to find them a house. If it's not on the market, how are we going to find them a house? So game plan, once you meet with these folks, we want to let them know like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is our agenda. This is the GPS, right? Showing property intro, right? Package presentation. Here's a package of info I prepared for you. And then we're going to summarize all the stats, right? So guys, when you meet people especially for the first time, right? Be on time. Please be on time. Please be there 20 minutes early. If this is the first time you're meeting someone, go there early and turn on all the lights. Like walk through the house. I can't tell you how many times these are agents that like get turned on connections and then they're turned off in like 2 weeks. They're like, I'm like, how'd the showing go? Awful. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, they were in the house before I even got there. I'm like, were you on time? They're like, well, no. I'm like, okay, cool. Those people think you're a ding dong. They're not going to work with you. Okay. So get there on time, get there about 15 minutes early. It's that simple, right? Also, when you walk through that house, man, I always thought it was cool to like pick something out that you like something that sticks out to you, right? Like I always go back to this like one stained glass window in like a house in Ocean Grove. I like loved it. And then like, I don't know, the owner wound up telling me like how old it was, like where they found it and they had it installed and then they I got there 15 minutes early. They talked to me about the stained glass window. They're like, yeah, we got it at this, like, I don't even remember, but we got it here. We had it installed. It's 100 years old. It's from this church in Boston, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, that's insane. And then because I was there a little bit early, because I got some cool information, when I walked through, it seemed like I knew what I was talking about. Like, it seemed like I was the source of information, right? Even if it's like a wet bar or a basement or a finished basement, or maybe there's something cool in the attic or whatever, or maybe the kids' room, something cool. Just when these people walk up, you want to be like, oh my God, and by the way, I can't tell you how much, dude, there's a wet bar in the you so when you're watching football on Sunday, you don't even gotta get up or to make a drink, whatever. I would talk about those things, right? So at the front door, this is our script, right? So at the front door of the property, before the client gets there, we want to go over the game plan, right? All right, Mary, thank you so much for making the time to come and check out this property. I wanted to quickly lay out the game plan for our tour today. I'll start by giving you a high-level overview of the stats of the house. Then you'll have ample time to check out the property at your pace. I'll stay within an earshot should any questions come up during our tour. After you're done checking out the property, we'll sync up in the kitchen or outside to talk through your thoughts, observations, and come up with a game plan moving forward. Does that work? Now, guys, why is this important to go through this script?
Manages expectations.
Correct. Yeah. Manages expectations. That's huge. That's all we do. I feel like that's all we do in life with other human beings. It's just managing each other's expectations. If you've talked with me, I say that to Lauren. I'm like, hey, Lauren, manage my expectations. Like I say that to her. I'm like, when's this thing going to be done? Or is this thing even going to happen? Or is this a bad idea? And she'll be like, well, and when she tells me, I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm calm, right? What else? Does this put us in control?
Yeah, you kind of grab the reins right at the beginning of the interaction.
Yeah, totally. And Sam, what's the goal? At the end of this whole thing, after we're done showing them a house, we want kind of one or two things to happen. What would that be?
We either want to know that they want to write an offer, or we want to know that they don't want to talk about this house anymore ever again, and we're working together.
Sure. And we kind of want to set another appointment, right?
Right.
We want to like future pace, right? Like either our appointment is either I'm calling you on this, I'm putting you on Evan Beach's calendar so you can do a pre-approval consultation. I'm either going to call you on this day because I'm going to have some off-market properties to show you, right? Or we're going to set a date on this day because we know some more stuff is going to hit the market, right? What's happening now is if this first appointment is everything, if you don't leave there with another appointment or you're writing up an offer, you probably don't have a relationship and that person is going to say goodbye to you, right? There's people in our organization that are meeting people and they're converting over 10%. Like we have people in our organization that are meeting 10 people and one of them they're converting immediately, right? And there's probably 2 or 3 other people that they're going to convert down the line in the next 6 months, right? So if you leave this, the goal is to leave this conversation with really an appointment, right? Writing up an offer or at least like we want to have that relationship, right? And then we always talk about the house being bugged, like that joke. Does anybody make this joke or does anybody utilize this one?
You mean that you want to talk about anything outside the house, not inside the house?
Yeah, exactly. So what I always did was, does anybody have a Ring camera on their house or like been around a house with a Ring camera, or like, have you ever like turned on the internet and seen funny things on Ring cameras, right? So like everything's being recorded. Watch what you're saying. And I always make a joke. And by the way, a colleague of mine was listed a house in Laguna Beach. It was a really expensive house. The market was going crazy. It's like a really exclusive property to get into. And there's multiple offers on it. It was like $4 million house, right? And a buyer was in the baby's room, and there was a picture of the baby. The owners were not there. There's a picture of the baby, and next to the baby was a teddy bear that had a camera in it. And the buyer like went right up to the picture of the baby and was like, that's an ugly baby. And the owner like saw it. It's like, so do you think that buyer like they put in an offer too? They put in a great offer. And that seller like did not. Do you think they considered that offer, you guys? Or do you think
No, not at all.
So
sometimes babies are ugly. And if you're objective about it, sometimes your house isn't worth $1 million. And sometimes your baby's ugly. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
If you have
By
a
the
real
way,
friend,
guys,
they'll tell you that your baby's ugly.
it's true. I did see that baby and it was very ugly. But
Just
we
say
don't
it outside
we
the
don't
house.
say that, right? Leave Sarah's face.
You can still love it.
Joke.
You
I
can
make
still love
jokes
it.
a lot
Doesn't
of
mean you're not
times.
ugly.
All right, let's move on. So Yeah, guys. So make a joke about I also say like, hey, another thing I would say is like, hey guys, when we're in the house, there's cameras everywhere, Ring cameras. Let's do this. I'm on your side, right? This is like poker. Let's keep our cards close to our vest. If you guys love the house, when we're in the middle of the kitchen, don't go, oh my God, Joe, I love the house. I'll give them whatever they want. Don't do that. Okay. But you can say that to me in the street when we're walking away. And by the way, when we're done here, we're going to have that conversation in the street. Is that cool? That's usually what I would say. I'd always go in there, you know? And because how many people had that? You've had the buyer in the house screaming that they want the house. What do we have to do to get it? And you're like, shut up, stop, please. Right. And so, warn them. And that's kind of like an icebreaker, right? Like, and it's kind of like, you know, you dab them up like, yo, we're boys, right? Like you're like getting in a relationship, we're friends, we're goofing around. So, you want to stay in control. Where people fail on these connections, right? And what's happening more and more, these connections that we're receiving online, man, they're valuable, man. People want to buy a house. All the information they need is online. Like when people can see pictures, the price, the taxes, the HOA, what the seller paid for it. You can see everything. When they finally click a button and want to see you, they're like motivated guys, right? And we want to nail down the relationship on that first appointment. Cool. So that's the intro, right? Get there early, do your intro, right? Like we're putting on a show here. Like I always was putting on a show, man. And I want these people to work with us. So, and by the way, if you walk away from the first appointment ever and there's no relationship, you never hear from them again, you did not do this. Does that make sense? You just didn't do it. You didn't do it well. Like they did not see the value in working with you. So when they're like, I don't know, Joe, I met him and blah, blah, blah. Now they won't answer the phone. You didn't do this. You did not do this. That's the bottom line, right? Package presentation. Someone volunteer to read what our realtor here is saying to the buyer.
I'll read it.
Ken?
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. So I went ahead and prepared some information for you about this house and compiled it in a nice little package so it's easily digestible. Included in this package is a flyer with all the info about this house specifically, a breakdown of all the recent sold properties in this neighborhood so you can get an insider look at what the market is doing here locally, and lastly, a neighborhood profile which gives you a detailed look at school districts, which grocery stores are close, in addition to the renter versus owner occupied stats in the surrounding areas. Cool?
Thanks, Todd. Good to see you, dude. Why is this stuff important?
You're giving the client value. You're showing him that, you know, you can do more than other realtors.
Yeah, correct. So guys, I'm not going to take you through it right now. We do this on onboarding. Maybe I'll do this on another training or whatever, but like bring a copy of the listing, right? Bring 3 comps, man. There's still areas where houses are selling over asking price. There's still areas. And by the way, there's still agents out there that can't price houses. So there's houses hitting the market that are insanely underpriced. These are the COVID agents that don't know how to price a house and they're getting 10 offers. Has anybody had this happen to them recently? Because this shit is all happening, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, what is that priced at? And I'm like, dude, write me up an offer, dude. I'll buy that thing. But like, they just don't know how. I'm not being mean. This is what's happening, right? So if it's a COVID agent, house is listed at 400, COVID agent listed at 350, it's not going to sell at 400. This happened to an agent on our team. There was a house listed at 350. They went in at 380 cash and sold for 420. Right? The comps weren't, you guys, I hope I'm hitting because this is all important shit. These are the nuances. These are the people that are going to crush real estate in the next 12 months because you're going to be able to beat the COVID agent that doesn't even know how to price a house. We're going to be able to beat all these people, right? So bring comps because if they want to make an offer, you better be able right there to tell them what that house is worth, what the average days on market is, and what houses are selling for versus what they're listed for. And the way we do this is we bring the listing, right? And we bring our comps, and I have a highlighter. I don't know what, I wanted to grab a highlighter and show you guys that I have one to prove to you, but I'm not going to do that. I take a highlighter and I highlight the listing price, the sale price, days on market.
Taxes.
No, not that.
No.
No.
Okay.
What I'm trying to show them is where they need to make their offer at. Does that make sense? right?
Yes.
'Cause what happens is when you go into a neighborhood that's still crazy and houses are still selling for 5% over, when you tell them they need to make if the house listed at 400, you're like, yo, we gotta start at 425 to even be considered. They're gonna think you're nuts, right? And they're gonna be like, you know what? Well, wait a minute, Joe, the market's crashing. And my mom said that me and all my friends should move into her basement. I'll be like, cool, I hear you. But in this neighborhood, this is what's happening. And then you have it in front of you, right? And guys, all this is what it's going to take to succeed in the next 12 months during separation season, right? If you're doing all these things, you'll win and you'll eat everyone's lunch. If you think you can just cruise to a house, the reason why we're doing so well and we're converting at such a high level is because we do follow the system. But if you weren't doing it, if there's like one thing you were leaving, if you weren't bringing the tax card, you're not going to be working in real estate in 12 months. This is what I'm trying. Like, I'm about to get like, this was like when people stop being polite and start getting real estate. That was for you, Gil. I know that joke was not funny, but also, bring a tax card, bring the tax card, right? We know why this is important, right? Bring the tax card, right? That has the square footage that's never on the listing, right? That has what they bought the house for, that has what they owed on it, right? Bring the neighborhood profile. All these things are available in a click, right? If you don't know how to do this stuff, we do onboardings in Asbury Park once a month. Anybody can pop in and join us. If you want to sit in an onboarding and do a refresher on Tuesday and Wednesday of all this stuff, a deep dive, you're more than welcome to join. It's free. If I sponsor you or you're at the Joe Oz group, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. So bring all those things. And what happens is this is why this is important. Number one, whoever said it was like, yeah, you're bringing value, right? You're bringing value. And they're like, wow, this person has their S together, right? And then, if they're clicking buttons on the internet or whatever, do you think they might go meet another realtor that afternoon? Do you think they might go meet another realtor the next day? They're interviewing you, by the way. They're interviewing you. So like when you show up and you bring it and you do all these things and you provide value and it looks like we know what we're doing, they're going to work with you. So again, if you go and meet someone for the first time and you do not do all of these things, if you think you can show up late, if you think you can not bring the listing, if you can think you can text them the listing from your phone, that sucks. That sucks. Like I know what good customer service is and I know what bad customer service is, and so does the consumer. And I also want to say this, like, it's really hard to get good customer service these days anywhere. Has anybody noticed this or realize this?
Yes, yes.
And when you get it, dude, it feels good, right? Dude, Sam and I work with a banker at Chase Bank. Tiffany just called me. She like refunded me $5, dude. She called me, was like, "Yo, I refunded you your $5." I would never would have. I'm like, oh my God. By the way,
She was great.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. She's like, and by the way, you don't have enough money in that account. So I'm gonna switch everything over to this account. That way you won't get that $5 fee. And you don't really need that account. You don't really use it. I was like, what? Holy shit. That's crazy. Like, I love her. Right. And so like, that's what we want to do. And when you present yourself this way, you're going to stick out and these people are going to work with you. Please hear this. There's going to be less deals, right? Going into the next 6 months. But the people that are buying are super motivated. The people that are selling are super motivated. They're going to be solid people, right? And if you do not follow the systems, these people are not going to work with you. And you need to be like on your game to work with the people that are. You're going to have a lot of opportunities. That's the thing, right? You're going to have a lot of opportunities from people that are going to buy and sell houses. If you're not I talked about this last week. If you're not working on your skills, dude, I'm spending an hour a day watching training from my colleagues that my colleagues are giving so I can get better, right? Like that's what I do, right? Like, and so like, I love music, but like I try to listen to podcasts, listen to books, listen to whatever, like doing all those things. Like on trainings like this that my friends do and my colleagues, like a lot of them are recorded and links go up. And when I'm driving the kids to school or when I'm making dinner, I make dinner for my family most nights. Like I put that on in my earbuds and that's what I listen to. I might sound like a complete maniac, but that's why I'm kind of good at this, right? So that this training is more about like getting back to the fundamentals and bringing your A game on every single appointment with every single client, because there's going to be less deals. Who here wants the deals, right? Who wants to do the deals, right? They're there, but like And again, this is your, your opportunity to just steal, you know, the ding dong realtor that you don't like, or the one who like, I don't know, like you get to take their deals now, man. It's going to be awesome. And the people that are buying and selling houses, they can't just like, they're gonna get really smart because these are gonna be choppy waters, and they're gonna realize they can't use their hairdresser to sell their house. This makes it like, this is good for you guys, right? And cool. And then this is everything we're talking about right now. Before you even go, we haven't even gotten in the house yet, by the way, you guys. So like, we have not even gotten in the house yet. So summarize the stats, right? Sarah, will you read this for us, summarizing the stats?
Oh, yeah. To continue, this house was built in 1958. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's 2,312 square foot on a 6,000 square foot lot. Feel free to take a look around, and like I said, I'll stay within earshot in case you have any questions. I will pop up.
Thanks, Sarah. Do you do something like this?
I do. You taught me this, actually. I used to helicopter my clients. I'm sorry, but then when you taught me this, yeah, I give
Totally.
them their space. Yeah.
Totally, man. Yeah, it's like that's funny. Helicopter. Yeah, like they say like helicopter parent or
I'm
something.
sorry.
You have like anyone has more than one kid. Your first kid, you're like a helicopter, right? And then the next one, you're like the next kid is like Maggie Simpson falling on her face, and you're like he's fine. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah. So like, what we want to do is we want to play offense, not defense. We want to get out in front of these questions that we know every single one of them is going to ask. In Monmouth, Ocean County, New Jersey, the square footage does not auto-populate onto the MLS form, and agents are like deathly afraid to put the square footage on a listing. I swear to God, like every old person in real estate will be like, "You'll get sued," and I'm like, because there was like one lawsuit ever, like. Everywhere else in the world, they put the square footage of the house, right? And so it's in the tax record, it's public knowledge. And so, and if they put an addition on or the square footage is inaccurate, the listing agent should know that and tell you or whatever. But if you meet someone for the first time, they ask you what the square footage is, and you're like, it's not the Four Seasons. It's not the front of the airplane. It's not Trader Joe's. It's Walmart. That's what it is, man. Like, and if you think that this isn't important, like it is. So, hey, you know what? And then the other thing is they get 4 rooms over and they're like, Joe, what's the square foot? How big is this room, dude? What's the square footage? And you're like running over here, like, oh no, let me find out. Like, just be professional, act like you've been there before, right? And then just hang out, and then you tell them these things, right? I even say things like, I show them that I'm better and that I know these things. I'm like, hey, you know what? The listing agent actually didn't put the square footage, but I went ahead and pulled the tax card. It's on the tax card. I highlighted it. That's the square footage, right? By the way, when you do an appraisal, the appraiser is going to pull the exact square footage, Bob. Like I say these things, I talk to them, and I sound like I know what I'm talking about. And then you go over the square footage of the house, the lot. So like in a lot of different parts of the country, that's how they say it. They say like 4,000 square foot lot. In New Jersey, you do dimensions, right? It's 100 by 100. By the way, the first number on the MLS, that's the frontage side to side. The second number is front to back, right? So you can be like, hey, oh, and you know what? Cool. Looks like we've got about, you know how smart you sound when you're like, yeah, it looks like our frontage here is about 100 feet, about 150 feet from frontage to back is what we got here. They're like, oh shit, Joe. Yeah, like it just says 100 by 100. No one talks about it on the thing. But when you say, hey, you know what? Looks like we got a frontage. And by the way, that's usually conforming, right? Does everybody understand? Like when a builder went in, the township conformed, every lot is about the same. Like if you go to Neptune on 6th Street, all the lots are the same. And then you could say something like, yeah, it looks like the frontage is about 100 here. We got about 150 front to back. That's the depth. And you know what? That's actually conforming for this neighborhood. Right? Stupid, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about, right? Like, they're like, oh yeah, all right, cool. That's it, guys. I know that sounds like simple stuff, but a lot of agents, to the majority of agents, 90% of agents are not doing it, right? And we're going into separation season. If you guys can hang tight, you know, I'm saying this to like the newer agents or whatever, right? Like, you know, I see Sarah and Sam and whatever and Jill, like those guys have a business, right? Like if you can hang, and this goes for you guys too, you can hang for 6 months and build a pipeline, man, it's going to pop. you know, and then half the agents are going to be out of the business, and it is a beautiful place to be. I had no idea that they would say that to me. I think like they said it to me like at RE/MAX when I started out. I think they're like, just don't. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing else going on. I was going to stay in real estate. Like it wasn't like I had somewhere else to go. But like they would say to me, they'd say, hey man, there's going to be a huge opportunity when the smoke clears, and it's going to be unbelievable. And when you turn the corner, it's going to be wild. And I don't think this shift's going to be anywhere near as gnarly as that one was, but it's completely true, right? Everyone got out of the business and like really quickly, and people were still buying and selling houses. And I had an abundance of business through all those years. My business never went down ever since I got my real estate license. It always went up, no matter what market I was in. So there's a huge opportunity. If you're at the Oz Group, you have leads, you have connections, you have people that want to talk to you, right? So and I'll just say this, that's cool. Like our connections from our team, that's cool. But you guys should also be working your databases, right? Like going in the new year, creating your databases, talking to your sphere, doing those things, inviting them to our events, like our Breakfast with Santa event, talking about food drives, things like that. And, you know, sitting open houses, there's a lot of things to do. So like our leads, our connections that we're giving you guys are really great. They're going to ensure that you have money coming in. But there's also a lot of different ways to do business, right? And, cool. Like I said, I want to respect you guys' time. I'm going to stop right there. Is there any questions? Is this valuable to you guys?
Joe,
Yes.
I love your productive energy.
Oh, thanks. You're so
Yo,
sweet.
How do you set the second appointment if you're there? Like if it's like they're kind of maybe newer, maybe qualified, not really for what they're doing, and they're just kind of like resistant or if somebody's been field where you're like, I don't know how to take this to a second appointment. Somebody give us a rebuttal like that we can set the second appointment on.
Yeah, the first way is just if they're not pre-approved or if they want a second opinion on their pre-approval, everyone should have Evan Beach's Calendly link. By the way, guys, all the important people in my life that have Calendlys, I have a bookmark on my phone, on my Safari of Calendlys. So like my Opcity coach, my Zillow coach, Gil Olson, Evan Beach, me, like I have a bookmark of all the Calendlys of people that I need. That's going to become a thing as life goes on. So make sure that you have all those Calendlys saved. And then the next thing is I would just say to them like, hey, there's probably, if you're going to show them one house, you should be bringing 3 other houses. So you should be showing them more than one house. More than often, there's a follow-up question. There's something like they ask some like, hey, is there riparian rights? Is the shed included? What's the flood insurance? Did they get the blah, blah, blah? What's the rating? There usually is a follow-up, right? So then that's number 2, like, hey, I'm going to follow up on this, this, and this. And I'm also going to pull some more properties. I want to respect your time. What's the best time to call you on Tuesday? Would it be at morning, afternoon, or evening? Oh, afternoon. Cool. Let's do 2 o'clock. I'm going to give you a ring. You're future pacing, right? Whether that appointment gets held or not held, you're just future pacing. That's what we have to do, right? And then the other thing is you could say, hey, you know what? My team and I, whatever day of the week it is, make like 2 or 3 days out. If it's Tuesday, say, oh, actually my team and I, we meet on Wednesdays to go over off-market properties and off-market opportunities, things like that, things that they saw that like, don't look the way they look on the MLS, you know, in real life. And we share, we actually sit down and we share with our team who's got buyers and who's got sellers. And we actually try to marry buyers and sellers. I'm going to have that meeting tomorrow. Why don't we go ahead and make a phone call for Thursday at 1, and then I can go over everything that we found, anything that's off market. We can make plans moving forward. How does that sound? Because, right? The ebbs and flows of motivation, right? The ups and downs, right? When they call you on the internet to meet you to see a house, where's their motivation?
High.
It's high, right? Then they leave you and they start going down here, right? This is where they're not taking your phone calls, you guys. This is where they're not talking to you. Is it because they don't like you, or is it just because it's not top of mind right now? It's because you're not top of mind right now, Joe. Yeah, that's correct. And also what happens is I get agents who are getting their feelings hurt right here. Joe, they're not calling me. Joe, blah, blah, blah. So what happens is when we leave here, we're just going to set another appointment to talk to them. We're going to start the relationship, right? We're going to open up communication, right? And by the way, when they're down here and it's just not top of mind and they toast, wait a minute, they're still going to buy a house. And if you create a relationship up here and you talk to them 1 or 2 times afterwards and bring value, they're going to work with you.
I agree.
Yeah. Or another one is, hey, hey, we see a lot of houses hitting the market on Thursdays and Fridays. Why don't we just make a tentative appointment for Saturday to get together so we can be like the first people into these houses? If nothing comes on the market. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be previewing off-market properties on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'd love to get you guys out there. And if anything, that conversation measures motivation, right? So if you tell them like, hey, I'm gonna have a meeting on Wednesday on off-market properties. All right, houses are hitting the market on Thursdays and Fridays like crazy. Why don't we set something tentative for Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon? That way we can be like the first one into these properties. If you can have access to some things that no one else has access to, or be first in, would that interest you? Yeah. All right, cool. We don't have to keep it, but I'm going to fill up on Saturday and I have a lot of houses to show and I just want to make sure you're important to me. I want to make sure to hold this space for you. Are you more of a morning, afternoon, or evening person? Like, afternoon. Cool. Let's say 1 o'clock. We'll hold that. Friday, I'm going to confirm with you. I'm going to call you noon on Friday to confirm with you and tell you what I got. How's that sound? They're committed. So again, I talk about these micro commitments, right? Like when we get married, we don't just go on a date and get married. We go on a date. We go on another date. We go spend holidays with their family. Go on vacation together. We move in together. We propose to them. We plan a wedding. Then we get married. Those are all these commitments, right? And that's all sales is. They're just little micro commitments. And you just want people to micro commit to you over and over and over and over. And if you're not doing these things, they don't think that you're their realtor. That's the bottom line here. And this is what I'm going to be talking about week after week after week after week, because either we're getting in a relationship and we're selling houses or another realtor's doing it. So Sarah, thank you for the very kind words as usual. By the way, the secret is this isn't my energy, right? This is the energy that you give me, right? I get on calls and people are like, and then my energy is like, I don't want to be. So like, really, this is all just recirculating of energy that I get from you guys. So I thank you. I get it. I get excited about this stuff and it gives me energy. So, all right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.